Hey, Howard here from 82 Maple, and we're in the dead of winter here, and we're reflecting back on how amazing our trip was this last part of August, September, October, 7 weeks in all, and we logged over 7,000 miles, whatever that works out into kilometers. Most of it was in the US, and so my brain kind of went to miles. And over the course of that time, would you believe we spent a total of about 30 hours dedicated to fueling? We were burning fuel at about 10 miles per gallon. And if you think the average fuel stop in a best case scenario is 20 minutes, that was 10 hours alone of fueling time. Wow. There were some adventures along that way, because you see, when Coral and I are traveling, it's not all just beautiful scenery and great adventures. There's lots of just road time. And yes, there's audiobooks, and yes, there's podcasts, but even that can get old. So this little series is about 4 of the little games that amused us along the way, games that we ended up creating. And this episode, which is part 2 in the series, it could be called Pay, and no, that wouldn't be the good name. How about Pump and Park, and Park, and Park, and park, and maybe go shopping and take a shower before you leave the fuel pump. Stay tuned. We're going to get into this. So, here's the deal. We love taking a tow vehicle with us. The downside to having a tow vehicle, and we took a little old Chevy Colorado with us, is it's all good going forward. But if you go to back up, if for example, you pull into a fuel island and you decide that you should be at a different fuel island because the occupant of the vehicle that's occupying that fuel island is nowhere to be seen, it's often nearly impossible to back up because there's 2 pivot points. Do you have the pivot point of the trailer ball on the back of our F350, which has the camper on it? And then there's the pivot point of the steering on the actual vehicle. So the whole thing turns into a pretzel really, really fast. So you kind of have to commit to a lane when you're pulling into that fuel stop. So here's how this little game is played once you've committed to the lane, and now you discover that the occupant of the vehicle is nowhere around. Start that timer, start that stopwatch, and see what happens. And leave that timer running until not only the occupant has returned to the vehicle, but till that vehicle actually starts to move forward out of the lane. Because often 2, 3, or more minutes can elapse from the time the occupant gets back to the vehicle. Some people just take a little longer to settle. Hey, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And see if you can beat our record. Our longest wait time in a fuel line due to an occupant being nowhere in sight for the vehicle in question was, let me check, 17 minutes and 10 seconds. Hey, now that's where one can use a good audiobook or podcast listen. Let's keep going. We'll give you some examples of how this game played out for us. So here we are, and on a little home stretch into Phoenix after traveling for 3 hours or so. We're getting low on fuel. We pull in here to fuel up. You can see things are pretty busy, and spots at the pumps are at a premium. And hey, I'll put in a little link down below to Boneheads. There's a whole YouTube channel dedicated to this behavior. Folks that come in and park at the pumps. This guy's been here now for over 10 minutes. We're sitting here, and they just wander off. We encountered a situation the other day where a gal had just taken her kids into the shop. There was a little deli or something attached. They'd gotten some ice cream. Meanwhile, all lanes full, and hey, what a gong show. Bad behavior at its best. Hey, some interesting phenomena between our Canadian and northern U.S. travels versus down south here. busy Friday night. All stalls full over there. And you see where that white truck is sitting over there. We pulled in there to fuel and waited a full 12 minutes before abandoning our position, doing a U-turn and coming around here to fuel. And sure enough, we pull in behind a fellow here. He had been sitting here when we were across the street, figured he'd be moving out any time. We fueled. You can see Coral pulling away down there. And it seems that folks just go shopping while occupying a fuel pump stall. Interesting. The other thing that we've noticed, speaking of fuel stops, is most of the fuel stops down here, $75, then have to plug in the credit card or go inside, versus Canada and the northern US where it's $100, $150, or $200 for a fill. Just observations, super interesting. Still having an awesome time. Who can't? Hey, what's your experience been like? Share your stories in the comments section down below.